My sister told me there was some kind of urgent family emergency to get me to come home. But the moment I walked through the door, she let me know I'd be taking care of her kids, handling the chores, and footing the grocery bill while she recharged. "This is finally your chance to actually contribute," Mom said, sliding a pile of unpaid bills across the table, every single one in my name. I didn't flinch. I just smiled, said, "Thank you," and calmly handed her a document that changed everything. The call came in on a Tuesday. I still remember the way her voice trembled, like she'd been crying for hours. She said Mom was sick. Something serious. They needed me at home, right away. I didn't stop to question it. I just started packing. Cleared my calendar. Postponed meetings. Then I got in the car and drove 8 hours straight through rain, traffic, and the kind of worry that builds mile by mile. By the time I got there, I was exhausted, anxious, and ready to do whatever was needed. That right there? That was my first mistake. Because the second I stepped inside, the energy shifted. No one looked sick. No one looked stressed. My sister was sprawled out on the couch in sweatpants and a clay face mask like it was spa day. Mom didn't bother to stand up. She waved me in from the dining table and said, "Perfect timing. Start with the groceries, would you?" I just stood there, confused. "Groceries?" I asked. She pointed to this absurdly long receipt and said, "Fridge is empty." Then she added, "You're covering it, right? You're the one with the good income." And without skipping a beat, my sister chimed in with, "Since you're already here, we figured you could watch the kids for a while. I'm overdue for a recharge." She really said that. Recharge. Like I was some kind of human battery pack she could plug into whenever she was feeling drained. I didn't argue. Just gave a quiet nod. That's what I always did. That's what they counted on. "You're not married, no kids of your own," Mom added. "This is a great opportunity for you to finally pull your weight." Then she handed me a stack of bills. Every one of them, utilities, subscriptions, the home security system I'd installed myself, carried my name. Apparently, I wasn't just the family errand boy. I was also the financier. I smiled again, nodded once more, and calmly reached into my backpack. I handed her a folder. She didn't even look at it at first. Just glanced at me like I was handing her some store coupon she didn't ask for. That's when I turned around and walked out. No yelling. No dramatic exit. I just left. They didn't stop me. Didn't even seem to notice. As I stepped off the porch, I heard my sister mutter something like, "What's his deal?" I got in the car and checked my phone. 10 notifications, all from the bank. Charges linked to accounts and services I'd created for them. Some under my name. Others just piggybacking off my credentials. And that's when the silence hit me. Not the peaceful kind. The cold, isolating kind that drapes over your shoulders and whispers, "You were never really welcome here." I was never truly accepted. Barely even tolerated. And that tolerance came with conditions. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just sat there in the driveway of the house I helped keep running, and let all the unspoken expectations and overlooked betrayals press down on me. Then, quietly, I started making my moves. And not a single one of them noticed. I just sat in my car, still as a stone, watching the porch light flicker above a front door I'd paid to have replaced 2 summers ago. And memories started flooding in. Not just one or two. All of them. They didn't blur. They sharpened. Like a bunch of tiny paper cuts I'd been pretending weren't bleeding. I remembered that Christmas when I spent hundreds buying thoughtful gifts for everyone, and all I got was some chipped mug that had clearly been regifted. I remembered birthdays where I wasn't invited because they figured I'd be too busy. I remembered the time my sister was behind on rent, and I wired her the full amount the same day. A week later, she posted a meme calling me a desperate doormat. And then there was my wedding. Not hers. But no one showed up. Mom said she had a headache. Dad claimed he had other plans. My sister flat out forgot the date. I stood at the altar, arms still healing from surgery, staring out at half-empty chairs. Half the guests embarrassed for me. The other half just confused. Afterward, not even a sorry. Just some forwarded link to a GoFundMe, for someone else entirely. I wasn't their son. Or their brother. I was their ATM. Their event planner. The go-to fixer. One year, I sent flowers to Mom for Mother's Day. Her reply? Next time just send cash. As all these memories came rushing back, I saw them with a clarity I hadn't allowed before. Every joke that stung. Every guilt trip disguised as love. Every meal where I paid the bill while they snickered at my expense. It was always the same cycle. I gave. They erased it. I helped. They belittled me. I kept quiet. They assumed I was content. They didn't really see me. Just what I could provide. Not a human being, more like a resource. A faucet they could turn on when they needed something. So now, after an 8-hour drive spurred by a fake emergency, I was being handed unpaid bills and assigned the role of unpaid babysitter. So my sister could recharge. That was the breaking point. But not emotionally. Strategically. I opened my laptop right there in the car. Tethered it to my phone. Logged into the shared utility account I'd set up for them so they'd never miss a payment. Canceled autopay. Changed all the passwords. Next, I logged into the family's cloud backup system. My company ran the back-end infrastructure. I killed their ex. Then I started pulling records. Receipts. Banking statements. Login logs. Message histories. That iPad my niece used for school? Still registered under my Apple ID. The Spotify family plan? That was mine. The grocery deliveries my mom always assumed just magically showed up? Also me, hooked to a credit card she never actually had the number for. And then I saw something that stopped me cold. The mortgage. I'd co-signed that loan years ago. Quietly. No questions. Dad had told me, we'll get a better rate with your name on it. I believed him. And now I realized the only reason they still had that house was because of me. And they knew it. That's why they lied. That's why they dangled the word emergency in front of me like bait. Because they were sinking fast. And they assumed I'd still be needy enough, for their approval, for some hint of affection, to come save them. But this time, I wasn't. Sitting there in my car, with the dashboard softly glowing and the porch light buzzing like a dying firefly, I finally saw the whole picture without any filters. I wasn't a family member. I was the infrastructure. The plumbing of their emotional house. Pushing things through, taking the waste, staying hidden in the walls. Always working. Until I didn't. And now? I was out. Not with bitterness. Not from sadness. Just done. But I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I was walking away with the blueprint. The one they never cared to look at. The one that showed just how deep my roots had grown into their version of stability. If they thought I was being dramatic, they hadn't seen dramatic yet. Their comfort was built on my silent support. And now I was going to make sure they felt what it was like when that foundation crumbled. I didn't sleep that night. Not from rage, it had passed. I didn't sit there reliving what was said. Didn't rehash the conversation. My brain had shifted into something else entirely. Cold, focused, clinical. By 2:17 in the morning, I was at Maya's place, my cousin. Sitting at her kitchen counter, nursing a cup of coffee I didn't even remember making. She looked at me and saw it in my face. That blank stillness. The kind that only shows up when a decision's already been made. She didn't ask anything. She just grabbed her laptop, sat across from me, and opened it. Like we were about to launch a mission. Because, honestly, we were. I started with the simple stuff. Logged into the shared utilities portal I'd created to keep their bills paid on time. Canceled every single auto payment. Took my card off the file. Switched the admin privileges to lock them out. Then I hit the streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, Prime. All of them tied to my accounts. All of them used freely by folks who couldn't even offer me a chair at the dinner table. Deleted. Every profile gone. Next, the phone plan. 5 active lines. Mine, my parents', my sister's, and her husband's. I didn't shut it down. I transferred ownership to them. They had 72 hours to accept the terms. If they didn't, every number would get deactivated. Simple as that. Then came the Wi-Fi. The mesh system I'd installed myself. Security cameras? All connected to cloud servers I controlled through my company. Smart locks, the thermostat, even the backyard sprinkler system, it all ran on licenses I'd provided. At 3:04 a.m., I disabled every connection. Quietly. No notifications sent. Just silence. At 3:26, my sister texted, "Why aren't the cameras working?" I didn't reply. Then I moved deeper. The mortgage. That one had me leaning back in the chair, staring at the ceiling. I'd co-signed 4 years ago, back when their credit was in shambles and no bank would touch them. But now, I had leverage. I reached out to the lender, asked for a co-signer release, and sent them updated financial docs. The guy reviewing the request remembered me. I'd helped him recover a corrupted server a while back. He put a rush on it. The verdict? My parents didn't qualify anymore. Not even close. Income too low. Debt too high. Without me, they'd either be forced to refinance at a brutal rate or lose the house altogether. And you know what? That house wasn't my responsibility anymore. Next, I pulled up the spreadsheet. Yeah, I had one. Because surviving in a family like mine meant keeping records. Every login. Every charge. Every favor and every little lie. Line by line, I went through it. My mom's new laptop? Leased through my business. My dad's accounting software? Still registered under my company's license. The shared password vault the whole family used? I was the creator and admin. One by one, I shut them down. Removed access. Locked accounts. Not to be cruel. Just the math. They had built their entire digital world around me, assuming I'd never pull the plug. But I had. Then came the emails. First, my parents' little accounting business. I'd built and hosted their back-end systems, for free, for over 10 years. Next, my uncle's dental clinic. Still using a security framework and data redundancy plan I'd set up back in college. I logged into our admin portal, found both accounts, and marked them terminated. No deletion. No sabotage. Just disconnection. I stepped away. I left a simple message on each dashboard. This system was maintained at no cost for over a decade. Effective immediately, access has been revoked. Thank you. At 4:42 a.m., my phone buzzed. 3 missed calls. 6 texts. Uncle. Voicemail. We're locked out. Can you fix it? I couldn't. I didn't respond. I couldn't. And Maya? She stayed right there beside me, silent but steady. After a while, she said quietly, "They're not angry." I looked up. She was right. They're scared. They weren't furious that I'd cut the cord, they were terrified. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't falling back into the role they'd cast me in. I wasn't John the problem solver anymore. I was John the firewall. By 8 that morning, my inbox was already packed. A message from the dental office manager, "We can't access any patient files." One from the CPA at my parents' firm, "All our billing systems are down." And then from my mom, "Please, just fix it. You're better than this." I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I forwarded all their contacts to a commercial IT company I trusted. Sent a note that read, "They'll need a full system rebuilt. Charge your standard rate and add emergency recovery fees." By noon, my financial advisor had moved every asset I owned into a brand new trust. This one came with a clause. It explicitly barred my parents and sister from receiving a cent ever. I wasn't just pulling the plug. I was cutting the power line, sealing it shut with steel, and building a firewall so tall they couldn't even see the top of it. That afternoon, my sister tried to call. I let it ring. Then she sent a text. "Was it worth it? You're alone now." Maya glanced at my phone, then at me. She shook her head. "No, you're not." That hit me harder than I expected. Because that's when it really clicked. This wasn't about getting even. It wasn't revenge. This was an extraction. A rescue mission. For me. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I just wasn't willing to keep participating. They hadn't just leaned on me, they'd hollowed me out and called it love, never once checking the cost. So I quit. I stopped replying. Stopped fixing everything they broke. Stopped pretending everything was fine. And as the silence stretched longer and deeper, they started to feel the very thing I'd lived with for years, being invisible. But unlike them, I didn't panic. I didn't break down. I just let the silence say everything I never could. At first, they didn't react. That part actually surprised me. After I shut off the systems, rerouted the mortgage, locked out every account they'd built their lives on, the first 12 hours were completely still. But by that evening, the messages started trickling in. Mom, why isn't the thermostat responding? Dad, why do the phones say, pending transfer? My sister, this is petty. We needed help, not drama. I ignored them. But I knew that was just the beginning. Because control was all they ever understood. And now, without it, they were spinning, adrift in silence. And for people like them, that silence hits harder than any argument. They do? The mask cracked. At exactly 9:04 a.m., I got a group text. First from Dad. This needs to stop. It's childish. Family helps each other. Then my sister chimed in. You're just mad because things didn't go your way. And of course, my mom dropped the classic guilt grenade. You act like we owe you for things we never even asked for. You're not a martyr, John. I read it a few times, not because it stung, but because it was so perfectly scripted. They didn't even realize they were running the same tired playbook again. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened an email from my lawyer. Everything had gone through that morning. My name was officially off the mortgage. The asset transfers were done. The clause keeping them out of my trust fund? Active, effective immediately. Then I got a security alert from my company's compliance team. Someone had tried to log into the old infrastructure hub using shared credentials from an IP tied to my uncle's dental office. I didn't have to guess. They were trying to sneak back in, regain access, patch the holes. So I doubled down, tightened security protocols, rolled out new encryption, alerted our legal team. And then, for the final touch, I forwarded everything, logs, timestamps, attempted logins, to our external auditor. Not just to cover myself, but to make it official. Documented. At exactly 3:12 p.m. that afternoon, the storm finally hit. Mom left a voicemail. You've torn this family apart. Over what? A few bills? Dad followed with his own message. You'll regret this. Those people you're leaning on now? They won't stick around. But we're your blood. Then came the most pathetic one of all, from my sister. You're clearly overwhelmed. We're worried about you. We're telling everyone it's just a breakdown so they don't think worse. That one gave me pause. Because that tactic? I knew it by heart. The classic he's not mad, he's unstable spin. The quickest way to discredit someone who's finally clear-headed is to paint them as unhinged. So I saved the text, downloaded it, archived it, then sent it to my lawyer. After that, I turned off my phone. By day 3, the public smear campaign began. My cousin Ellie texted me out of nowhere. You good? Just saw something weird. She sent a screenshot from my mom's Facebook. It's always the quiet ones you have to worry about. Prayers for healing and clarity. Below it were 46 likes and 17 comments. All vague and performative. One said, he always was a bit cold. Now we know why. Another, hope you're all safe. Let us know if you need anything. I wasn't tagged, but come on, everyone knew who they meant. I didn't reply. But Ellie did. She posted. You leaned on him for everything until he couldn't take it anymore, and now you want to play the victim? Shame on you. They deleted her comment within the hour. Then blocked her. Day 4 brought things to a whole new level. Out of nowhere, an email showed up in my company's HR inbox from an anonymous Gmail account. No name attached. Just a subject line that screamed concern. Internal fraud by John. Inside was half a page full of made-up accusations. Claims of financial misconduct. Data tampering. Even unauthorized access to client systems. They wrote it like someone who knew just enough corporate jargon, legal buzzwords, and red flags to sound dangerous. But they slipped up big time. They cited a client complaint from 2020. That complaint never existed, because in 2020, I was on medical leave, recovering from surgery. I pulled the email headers, traced the IP address. Guess where it came from? My dad's office. The same subnet their tax software ran on. They were trying to ruin my career, the very system that paid for their lifestyles. So I did the one thing they feared most. I went public. Not with drama or shouting. Just cold, hard facts. That evening, I posted a thread online. No names. No accusations. Just the truth. I listed every system I'd built and maintained for them. Shared screenshots of payments I'd made over the years. Included a redacted summary of the smear email, with timestamps and the IP trace. I closed it simply. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is cancel the subscriptions they didn't even know you were paying for. By midnight, the post had over 2,000 shares and 500 comments. Dozens of direct messages flooded in. People sharing their own stories. Recognizing the pattern. Thanking me. Saying, I thought I was alone. My mom saw it too. She emailed the next morning. Subject, we need to talk. Body, you've always been so cold. I didn't know it hurt you this much. Can't we fix this before it gets worse? I forwarded it straight to my lawyer, then blocked her email. Day 6, they showed up, literally. At 7:48 p.m., my mom, dad, and sister stood on Maya's doorstep. Like a sad intervention group. Maya answered but didn't let them in. Dad tried to push past her. She blocked him. Mom said, we just want to talk. It doesn't have to be like this. But it did. I stood calm behind Maya, still as stone. They accused me of ruining every holiday, every family gathering. Said they didn't need me. Mom's face fell. My sister stepped forward. We were upset. You know how holidays are. And now with the mortgage bouncing and the cloud offline, you suddenly care? Silence. Then Dad exploded. You're acting like some big shot. Think money makes you important? I met his gaze. No, but cutting off people who treat me like trash? That's freedom. They had nothing to say. They left eventually, backing out of the driveway. Mom shouted, you'll regret this. I looked at Maya and said no. They will. I never planned to make this public. Not really. Didn't want the drama or attention. But by day 7, silence wasn't enough. They were rewriting the story, not just behind closed doors but professionally, socially. Claiming I'd snapped. That I was unstable, dangerous, and that they'd done nothing wrong. So I did what they never expected. I published everything. No anger. No rants. Just a Google Drive folder titled Transparency, with 6 subfolders. Financials, screenshots of every recurring payment I covered over the last decade. Access logs, infrastructure setups, login records, IP addresses used to breach systems. Audio, a voice message of my sister calling me a walking disappointment. Screenshots, texts from my parents mocking my surgery-related disability. Legal, restraining order filings and proof of the fraudulent complaint filed against me. Help, a spreadsheet titled Every Time I Helped, and what I got in return. I wrote one paragraph. This isn't revenge. This isn't drama. This is the truth. When someone spends years being treated like a tool, then finally puts the wrench down, that doesn't make them broken. It makes them human. I shared the link on my private profile. No tags. No names. Just the truth. Within 48 hours, it spread like wildfire. People shared their own stories. Connected dots I hadn't even seen. A former neighbor messaged, I always wondered why you never showed up to their parties. Now I get it. One of Dad's clients forwarded the post to their office manager, asking if the firm was still stable amid the leadership chaos. My sister's ex-fiancé's boss emailed me, concerned about Mark's reputation given the documents circulating. Oh yeah, Mark, my sister's ex, since the wedding was cancelled, was involved in the fraud attempt too. I traced the burner email, VPN slip-up, and phone metadata. Handed everything to my lawyer. His contract was suspended within 24 hours. That wasn't revenge. It was alignment. When you build everything on lies, don't be shocked when the truth eventually catches up. Then the call started. Uncle Mike first, you didn't have to go so clean and final. I told him, then you shouldn't have poured gasoline on the bridge. Then Aunt Renee, you could have come to us directly. I said, you sat at the table while they joked about me. That was direct. But the hardest hit was Grandpa Joe. He didn't call. He showed up, unannounced. Walked in holding printed documents. Looked at me, no anger, no pity, just a nod. And said, I told them this would come out someday. They just didn't expect you to be the one saying it. I asked if they got it now. He laughed, tired and bitter. But everyone else does. And that was enough. The power had shifted. Not because I yelled, but because I refused to stay silent. They called me broken for walking away. Now they had to explain why the internet was calling them out for denying truth and blaming others. They had to answer to clients why their systems were failing. Why the son they loved had filed an injunction. Why no one in the family would return their calls anymore. Because truth has a way of doing what guilt never can. It ends the illusion.